Hi, it's Scott Vogel on sex addiction. Today I'm going to talk about what works when treating sex addicts. What needs to be understood by those people suffering, struggling with sex addiction, or friends, family, employers of sex addicts and loved ones is there's no recovery formula that works for everybody. There's no set formula that says do this and it'll work. But there are some proven treatment options available, and there are quite a few options. Not a lot, but there are a few that have proven to be effective, and usually a combination will help a struggling sex addict. What needs to be understood is each addict is different, each addict comes from a different place, and each sex addict comes to the addiction with a lot of different issues. So recovery is going to be different. The process of recovery is going to be different because there's so much to deal with when we're talking about a sex addiction. And a combination of different treatments will work depending on what the sex addict needs in order to stay into recovery. So the types of treatments that are available that work best are 1, individual therapy, 2, group therapy, and couples therapy. There are 3 types of actual therapy that go hand in hand with recovery from sex addiction. The first is individual therapy, where the addict themselves works on their individual issues with a certified sex addiction therapist or an addiction therapist or somebody that's well versed in dealing with the issues that come up with someone with an addiction. The second is group therapy, where the individual participates in a group of other people who are experiencing similar challenges in their addiction as well. And then couples therapy, where the spouse, the partner of the sex addict is involved so that they can work through a lot of the issues that have come up in the past, that are coming up, and that will come up in the future. What therapy does is it helps to address intimacy issues. Intimacy is a major issue for those struggling from sex addiction. They do not have the ability to become totally intimate and open with another person. Intimacy at times is said to be into me I see, seeing inside of our true selves and being able to open up completely to partners and loved ones in a loving, caring, honest, humble way. The second is it addresses relationships, not only spouses, partners, loved ones, but family, friends, colleagues, relationships with self and relationships with the world as a whole. Most sex addicts' relationships have been skewed because the relationships they develop are false relationships based only on sex, not intimacy. And therapy helps to address past issues, childhood issues of trauma, childhood issues of abuse, neglect, abandonment, and embezzlement. Those are what I call the 4 traumas of addiction. What therapy does is it provides support, which is needed for recovery. While somebody goes through recovery, they start to discover things about themselves in their past, and they need the support for that desperately. There's inpatient treatment that's also available, and what that does is that removes the addict from their current environment, the stress, the pressure, the anxiety, the fear, the struggles of life. So they're removed from it where they can work exclusively on their issues. There's also a holistic approach where people get involved in outpatient treatment, intensive outpatient treatment. They go to 12-step programs to work a program of recovery and work the 12 steps. And they also create a support network. Those approaches can be used for those, one, that can't afford to be in inpatient treatment or that don't need to be in inpatient treatment. Their addiction, their disease is not as serious. It's not totally destroying their lives, but it's interfering with their lives. The 12 steps are an excellent tool in treating sex addicts. The 12 steps provide a principled approach to recovery and right living. That's what the steps are all about, is learning how to live life on life's terms. And there are principles that help a person, whether it's Alcoholics Anonymous 12 steps, Narcotics Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous, or Sex Addicts Anonymous. They all are based on the principles of Alcoholics Anonymous that teach a person how to live right. It's also a system on how to handle life's difficulties. People are taught to handle life's difficulties in the right way rather than turning to their drug of choice or their addiction. The 12 steps also provides a coping method because you learn how to cope with your problems by sharing them with other people, by being part of a group of people where before it was just solitude. What you need to understand is there is hope for recovery. Recovery is possible. The biggest challenge that most addicts don't want to hear is it takes time. Recovery takes years. It took a person many, many, many years to get where they are. It's not going to happen overnight. That's one of the biggest challenges that a sex addict faces, is they discover they have a problem and they say, I want to get rid of it. What's the fastest way? There is no fast way. There's the right way, and there's a way that takes time. So there really is no formula that fits everybody. There are types of treatment. There is inpatient treatment, there's outpatient, there's therapy, there's the 12-step programs, and it's usually a combination of one, two, or all of them that will help a person in recovery. There is the therapy. Support is vitally important to a sex addict. They need the support of loved ones, family, friends, and they need the support of others in a 12-step program of recovery. And they need to work the 12 steps. The 12 steps should be worked for all people involved in recovery from sex addiction. Please visit our YouTube channel on sex addiction, where you'll find more videos on sex addiction and recovery from sex addiction. You can also visit our blog on sexaddiction.com, where you'll find a free video explaining what sex addiction is, the 7 symptoms of sex addiction, the 4 traumas of sex addiction that create the 4 faulty core beliefs that most sex addicts and other addicts have, and you'll also hear about the solution, recovery from sex addiction, the 7 paths to success. You'll also find more information about sex addiction, articles, videos, audios about sex addiction and sex addiction recovery. This is Scott Vogel on Sex Addiction.